Hi, I'm Lynette and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you a tutorial on this look right here and swatches of the new Ulta Beauty collection collaboration with Harry Potter, the Slytherin palette. So Ulta Beauty collaborated with Harry Potter and they came out with, I believe it's 4 eyeshadow palettes, and they're all based on or inspired by the different houses in Harry Potter. And I've seen a couple of videos from some I've read some comments too from some Harry Potter fans about these 4 palettes, and they are not happy. They're not happy with these palettes. They say that the colors do not represent the colors of the houses in Harry Potter. But since I don't know shit about Harry Potter, I think the color story is beautiful. All of them are beautiful, and I didn't know anything about this collection until I saw it on Space Case's channel, so I'm gonna link her channel down below. She also does swatches of all 4 palettes, and she does tutorials with all 4 palettes. But I just picked up the Slytherin palette. I did a some kind of little quiz or something, and it turned out that the result was I was part of the Slytherin house, which I don't know how I feel about it, because I think they're the bad guys, and because there's a big old ugly nasty looking snake on the front. Ooh, and I hate snakes. Anyway, so I got the Slytherin palette. There is another palette, I don't know the name of it, but it looks very similar to the Juvia's Place Nomad palette, and I was tempted to get it, but I was trying to be good, so I just got the one. And I think this palette is beautiful. I think all of the palettes actually have really beautiful color stories, and this one, oh, as you see, the packaging is pretty cute, actually. I mean, if you're a Harry Potter fan, perhaps you like the packaging more than, you know, it's more significant to you. And that's the back of the palette. And it's a 9 shadow eyeshadow palette. And it's a 9 pan eyeshadow palette. And it's a mixture of mattes and shimmers. This palette, I don't know if the mixture is the same in every palette, but this palette has 5 shimmers and 3 mattes. So this one's a matte, this one's a matte, this one's a matte, and this black is a matte. I'm going to throw up some swatches for you, and the palette retails for $16, which you know, I don't think it's a bad price. And like I said, the color story is so pretty, it's so grungy, and I was immediately drawn to it. The matte shades in the swatches, the matte shades, they all swatch nicely. The matte swatch nicely and pigmented. The metallics are so smooth. They feel smooth in the pan, and they swatched real smooth, real silky. So I was very encouraged by the swatches, and the pigmentation, like I said, of the mattes looked pretty good too. So I was excited, and this grungy color story, right up my alley. This is my first palette from the Ulta Beauty brand. It's my first use of any of their eyeshadows, so this is my first time being exposed to their eyeshadow formula. And if you'd like to know how I feel about it or what my thoughts are after using this palette for the first time, then stick around. After the tutorial, I will be coming back with my first impression of this palette. So if you'd like to see how I created this look today using the Ulta Beauty Harry Potter Slytherin palette, then just keep on watching. I'm starting off with the Urban Decay Primer Potion, the anti-aging one, and I'm going to place this all over the lid from brow to lash line and just blend it in with my finger. Going into the Slytherin palette, I'm taking the shade Fluffy on a Sonia G Blending Pro Blending Brush,
And I'm going to place that in the crease. And I went in with too much product because you can see just how pigmented it is and how that primer grabbed onto the eyeshadow. So I did take a long time to blend this out, and I'm using back and forth and circular motions, and I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on the brush in order to facilitate this blending. And yeah, it took a while. I did edit some of it out, but it did take a while. And then I'm just adding a little bit more because I want to make sure that the crease is totally covered in shadow. I don't want to have any gaps. And it's just a matter of patience and just taking my time and using a lot of circular motions and back and forth motions to blend out this shade. And I took it all the way across the crease. So from the outer corner of the crease all the way into the inner corner. Now going back into the palette and taking Black Lake, and that's the black matte shadow, and trying to go in a little more lightly this time. So I'm just tapping that on the outer V area with my Sonia G mini booster, and using small circular motions to blend it in the outer V, and then back and forth motions to bring it into the crease, about halfway into the crease. And I went back into the palette multiple times to build up the shadow, because I didn't want to do what I did with the shade in the crease by going in with too much and then having to spend a lot of time trying to blend it out. So this way I just added and build it up and blend it as I went, and didn't have that same problem. Now I'm taking Elm on a flat shader brush. This one is from Delium Tools, and I did dampen the brush, and now I'm placing this like cool, really cool tone, bronze, greeny, olive type shade on like 3/4 of the lid. And not, you know, even with the shadow wet, it didn't go on really metallic or bright. And I'm placing that all over the mobile eyelid and a little bit above my crease, because I have an eye fold and I want to make sure I can see this shadow with my eyes open. And now I'm taking that shade Ivy, and again with a damp brush, and wow, I was not expecting that. Definitely much brighter and much more metallic than that last shade we put on the lid. And I'm just being sure to blend that into that like gunmetal olive shade. And this one was really pretty, although it seemed like it wasn't as bright once it was blended into the lid. And now I'm just going back in with that first matte shade and making sure I blend out those shadows in the crease, because you want to have a seamless blend between all your eyeshadows. Taking a wet wipe and just cleaning up under the eye where I had a little fallout, which was very minimal. And now I'm taking the Esum Dual Eye Pencil in Rose Aubergine, and I'm taking the Aubergine side, which is this really dark plum eggplant color, and I'm placing that in the waterline and underneath onto the lower lash line. And I'm going to bring that all the way across, save for just a tiny spot there in the corner. And now I'm going back in with the black, and I'm just gonna put that like a halfway across the lower lash line to sort of blend out that pencil. And I really could have just left it like this, because I did like the way it looked just like this. But I'm gonna take Baron on a damp Makeup Geek pencil brush, and I'm going to place that onto the lower lash line. And I did go back in with this shade, and I went all the way across, even to that outer V corner there, because I just decided I wanted it to go all the way across the lower lash line. Again, trying to keep that little corner in the inner tear duct blank, because I'm taking that bright green shade Ivy and I'm using that as my inner corner highlight. And I just used a brown, my Inglot gel liner, the brown one, on my lash line, no wing, and just mascara. And I do like how the look came out, nice and smoky.
Now, as I said, this palette is my first exposure to Ulta Beauty eyeshadow, so I cannot compare it to any other palettes or any singles that they may have, because this is my first time using it, my first time being exposed to this formula. And after using it and working with it for the first time today, I like it. For the most part, I like it. The matte eyeshadows, as you saw from the tutorial, are pigmented. I went in with that first crease shade with too much on my brush, too much product on the brush, and so it took a long time. It took a lot of elbow grease to blend the shadow out in the crease. And I used my Urban Decay primer potion because I know that's a good primer, that it's going to allow shadows to adhere to the skin. And not knowing what this formula was going to be like and how these shadows were going to perform, I wanted to give it the best chance by using a really good primer. And as you saw in the tutorial, that first crease shade went on and it kind of stuck, but I was able to blend it. But it took a lot of elbow grease, like I said, to blend it out and smoke it out in the way that I wanted it. So I would suggest you don't do what I did. When I worked with the black shade here, I made sure to go in very lightly with it and then build up the color as opposed to trying to blend that out. So I'm happy at how pigmented the eyeshadows were and how they were able to blend, how I was able to get them to blend. So the matte formula I like. The metallic formula, the metallic shades, not really my cup of tea. I really prefer really in your face, impactful metallic shades that go on and like bam from the very beginning upon initial application. And I went in with these wet because I knew from swatching them that they were not going to be that in your face type of metallic formula, and it's not. So I did go in with it wet, and even using the shadows wet, they still didn't give me a whole lot of oomph. They're pretty though. I mean, I like the look that I came up with, and they're pretty, but they're definitely more subtle and not the in your face really bold type metallics that I prefer. But if you don't mind that formula, I definitely think this formula is good for beginners and for people who don't necessarily want a whole lot of impact when they first go in with eyeshadows, either matte or metallic. I feel like these are really easy to work with, and if you want to build up more drama, more intensity, more pigmentation, you can do that with this formula. So I think it's a nice palette. I love the color story. I feel like when I look at this palette, I can think of a lot of different looks that I can do with it. I like that it has these cool tones in it, this cool olive green and this like bronze, cool tone bronze shade. And this silver is really beautiful. I like that there's a black in this palette. I just really like it. My favorite one is this green. It's kind of like, it looks lime green, but it looks more like a turquoise blue green once it's on the lid. But I like it. My favorite one of the ones that I used thus far. So let me know if you know about these palettes. If you picked up these any of these palettes, let me know what you think of the formula. Let me know if you're planning to pick up any of these palettes, what you think of the color story if you're a Harry Potter fan. But yeah, I really like it. Also, please let me know if you'd like to see me do any more looks with this palette. If you liked this video, then please give it a like and consider subscribing, because I do makeup tutorials, hauls, swatches, and reviews here every Saturday. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.